Next, we have what we call the colligative properties of solutions, which depend on the quantity of the solute molecules. First, changes in colligative properties depend only on the solute and not the identity of the solute particles. Okay? Among colligative properties we have four: vapor pressure lowering, boiling point elevation, melting point depression, and osmotic pressure. Now let's define each. First, with vapor pressure lowering, non-volatile, this should be solutes, right? So reduce the ability of the surface solvent molecules to escape the liquid. Therefore, vapor pressure is lowered. For example, here in this image, the vapor pressure in the pure solvent or the solvent alone is higher as compared to the solvent plus solute, since the solute prevents the escape of the liquid into gas. Okay? Because of the solute-solvent intermolecular attraction, higher concentrations of non-volatile solutes make it harder for the solvent to escape to vapor phase. Okay? The amount of the vapor pressure lowering will depend on the amount of the solute. Okay? So the more solute, the more lower the vapor pressure is. Okay? Therefore, the vapor pressure of a solution is lower than that of a pure solvent. Okay? And mathematically, vapor pressure lowering was represented by the Raoult's law, wherein P solution, or the pressure of the solution, is equal to X sub A, which is the mole fraction of compound A, and multiplied by the normal vapor pressure of A at that temperature. And since we are talking about the solvent, so the pressure of the solution is equal to the uh, mole fraction of the solvent and the normal vapor pressure of the solvent. Next colligative properties is the boiling point elevation and the freezing point depression. Now, non-volatile solute-solvent interactions also cause solutions to have higher boiling points and lower freezing points than the pure solvent. Now, boiling point elevation is somehow related with vapor pressure lowering, since the non-volatile solute lowers the vapor pressure. Now, at 1 atmosphere, or the normal boiling point of pure liquids, there is a lower vapor pressure. Therefore, higher temperature is needed to reach that vapor pressure to achieve boiling point. Okay? And this change in the boiling point is mathematically expressed as delta T boiling is equal to a constant, to Kb, which is the molar boiling point elevation constant, a property of the solvent, multiplied by M, or the molality of the solution. Next, this should be freezing point depression. Okay? Freezing point depression. Wherein the solution freezes at a lower temperature compared to the pure solvent. Now, the decrease in the freezing point, delta T sub F, is directly proportional to the molality multiplied by a freezing point depression constant of the solvent. Okay, next, since colligative properties depend on the amount of solute, so these properties depend on the number of particles dissolved, solutions of electrolytes should show greater changes than those of non-electrolytes. Okay? For example, NaCl is different with methanol, okay? However, a 1 molar solution daw of NaCl does not show twice the change in freezing point than a 1 molar solution of methanol, okay? 1 mole of NaCl in water does not really give rise to 2 moles of ions. Some sodium and chloride ion reassociate for a short time, so the true concentration of particles is somewhat less than the 2 times, and reassociation is more likely at higher concentration. Okay? Therefore, the number of particles present is concentration dependent. Now, with respect to this number of particles, we modify the equations by multiplying it by the Van't Hoff factor I. Okay? Instead of KFM becomes KFM multiplied by the Van't Hoff factor I. So now how do we get the value of the Van't Hoff factors? For example, if we have an organic or a non-polar compound, or non-ionic compound, we have the value as 1. For example, the sucrose. Next, for NaCl, since it produces two ions, right? One sodium and one chloride. So the Van't Hoff factor is 2. Okay? And for K2SO4, since it will produce three ions, 2K plus, right? And then 1 SO4, 2 negative. So the Van't Hoff factor is 3. And then for MgSO4, we have an this is 2 positive, Mg positive 2. Okay, so the Van't Hoff factor is 2 since we only have 2 ions. Okay, but again, this Van't Hoff factor is concentration dependent, so it only applies, say, at higher concentrations. Okay. Now, for the last colligative property, the osmotic pressure, let us first define what is osmosis. So, some substances form semi-permeable membranes, okay, like the cell membranes, okay, so allowing some smaller particles to pass through, but blocking other larger particles. Okay, so uh, that's what's happening. Now, in biological systems, most semi-permeable membranes allow water to pass through, but solutes are not free to do so. Okay? So, in osmosis, there is a net movement of solvent from the area of higher solvent concentration or low solute to the area of low solvent concentration or higher solute concentration. Okay? For example, daw, the solvent or the water would move like when it is needed. Okay? Okay? In osmosis, there is movement in both directions across the membrane. For example, here is our membrane. There is movement from dilute to concentrated and from concentrated to dilute. Okay? As the solvent moves across the membrane, the fluid levels in the arms become uneven. Okay? They started at the same, but then it would be different. Okay? Eventually, the pressure difference between the arms stops osmosis, right? So they would stop moving. Now, that pressure that stops osmosis is known as the osmotic pressure, defined by the value pi, which is equivalent to the number of moles divided by the volume multiplied by RT, or equal to your molarity multiplied by R and temperature, where the molarity solution is M, the R is your gas constant, and then T is absolute temperature in Kelvin. Okay? So if the osmotic pressure is the same on both sides of the membrane, the solution are said to be isotonic. Okay? Next, if your solute concentration outside the cell is greater than that inside the cell, okay, the water will flow out of the cell. Okay? So it is called a hypertonic solution. Okay, so since there is high solute concentration outside, the water or the solvent will move out of the cell, causing the cell to shrink. Okay, so this is the principle used in, for example, doing pickles. Okay. Now, on the other hand, if the solute concentration outside the cell is less than inside the cell, the solution is hypotonic, meaning water will flow into the cell, causing the cell to be enlarged or and eventually it will burst. Okay? Therefore, in our bodies, we want the solution to be as isotonic as possible because we do not want hyper and hypotonic solutions inside the physiological body.